While wandering around the airport, Alvin and Paco realized they were in India from the way people spoke and their local clothing. Realizing they were still far from home, Alvin began to cry and said, "I miss my mom and dad so much. I don't think I'll ever see them again." Without wasting any time, Alvin and Paco left the airport and started wandering the streets of India. Alvin immediately wanted to find a way back home, but he was gradually losing hope. His friend Paco consoled him, saying, "Don't worry, buddy. You'll be reunited with your mom and dad. They had a hard time because of India's famous small taxis." Alvin and Paco didn't know what to do because they had never seen such a crowded place before. They constantly risked being crushed, especially due to the heavy traffic and hustle and bustle. What surprised Alvin and Paco the most was seeing cows roaming freely in the middle of the street and no one bothering them. They later learned that these animals are considered sacred in India and understood the situation better. Paco had heard some things about India before and suggested to Alvin that they take a little trip. Alvin said, "We have plenty of time. Let's go sightseeing and relax a bit." They went to the famous Ganges River together and watched people swimming and praying there. Alvin didn't fully understand what these people were doing, but Paco gave him all the necessary information about it. After the Ganges River, Alvin and Paco went to the Taj Mahal, one of India's most famous structures. This building was so beautiful and magnificent that they sat and watched it for hours. However, they knew they had to hurry because there was still so much to see in India. After a while, their path led them to a large temple. The statues they saw here and the way people worshipped greatly surprised Alvin and Paco. For Alvin and Paco, who learned something new from everything they saw, time was now beginning to run out. Paco finally wanted to go to a zoo. Alvin said, "Yes, let's go to a zoo and then figure out how I can get back to my house." While walking around the zoo they went to, they came across a penguin in a cage, and Alvin was very happy. This penguin said to Alvin, "I'll give you the information you need to get back home. Don't worry, little friend," and gave him some information. Paco and Alvin excitedly left the zoo and climbed onto a bus heading for the port. Because the penguin in the cage had told Alvin that he could go home on the ships leaving from the port. After dark, Alvin and Paco arrived at the port and searched all the ships, trying to figure out which one to take. Since there were many people working at the port, they had to be careful and hide themselves. After a while, they secretly boarded a ship and set off with hope. Alvin said, "I hope we got on the right ship. I want to get back to my family and hug my mom and dad as soon as possible." Paco replied, "I want that too, my friend. I'm sure your mom and dad miss you very much." However, when night fell, a storm suddenly broke out and the ship began to rock due to huge waves. In fact, the waves were so big that at one point they thought the ship would sink. Alvin and Paco started shouting, "Help! Save us! The ship is about to sink!" Just then, Alvin lost his balance due to the waves and fell into the sea. Even though he knew how to swim, swimming in the sea was very difficult. Seeing his friend fall into the sea, Paco reached out his hand and shouted, "Alvin, hold my hand! I'll pull you up!" Alvin grabbed Paco's hand at the last moment and managed to pull him onto the ship. Both Alvin and Paco were so exhausted that they slept soundly until morning. However, at sunrise, they were disappointed again by the view before them. After a frightening journey, they arrived at a port. However, the weather was very hot where they had arrived, so this couldn't be Antarctica. Therefore, they began to examine their surroundings with curiosity and tried to figure out where they were. Let's see where our little friends Alvin and Paco are this time and what will happen to them. Let's see where little Alvin will be in his next adventure. Hey, if you want to join Alvin on his new adventures, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the videos, and turn on notifications. you can decide where the next adventures will take place. All you need to do is write the address of the new adventure in the comments. See you in Alvin's next adventure.